Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Amazy, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode.
Welcome, gentlemen. Today I've got a treat for y'all. I'll be introducing our newest partner at Elevated Recovery, Andrew McCormick, who is stepping in as our new dating reboot coach. Welcome, Andrew.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm super honored and super excited for this journey.
Nice. Andrew and I go way back. In fact, I pulled a picture from Instagram, man, it's like 1:05 a.m. in Vegas, and the guys are in partying. You remember that? You and I are sitting outside in the lobby at 1 a.m. on one of our mutual friends' birthdays, working and messaging clients.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, I remember that.
I don't even remember who took the picture, but we were working. You were just like, I got to hit up some clients. I was like, I got to hit up some clients. It was like the first time we met, actually.
Yeah, I think right away you and I, just as a side note, had a lot in common, of course. There's a bit of an automatic synergy there. And that's also why I'm super stoked to kind of work with you and, work with, the amazing clients that you have. Yeah, man, I was literally just talking to our mutual friend about dude, we should just revisit Vegas, just pop over there for a couple days, just go, because it's been about a year or two, but
we've graduated to a monthly post over the past decade.
Yeah.
Boy, things these days. Anyway, speaking of which, Andrew is not only a mutual friend, but he's a fantastic businessman and business partner. When I first got into real estate, it was Andrew and his partner's company that facilitated my investing, and they've made life very easy for me in the area of developing wealth, everything from insurance to real estate to trusts. And this is something we're going to be bringing into our program as well. We're a holistic program. It's not just about ending your behavior, but it's about becoming a fully rebooted man. No point in you ending your behavior with pornography and going out back there to the habits that will stress you out and bring you back to it. So, Andrew, this is about you, man. I want to get to know you a little bit. How did you end up becoming a dating coach, man?
Yeah, it's checkered. I'm being completely transparent because I would drift in and out of it. I would only drift out of it because I would be so distracted with, I had a couple other things happen with real estate, and I'd make certain moves where I would need to really refocus, but I would be constantly be hitting up by friends and clients, old and new, for help in this area to this day. Now it's getting really obnoxious that friends literally invite me out and acquaintances invite me out just because they know they're going to meet beautiful women and have a good time, which is cool. I'm not mad about that, but I kept getting pulled back in because I had such a high degree of skill set and it was so apparent. Even though I'm trying to make it as unapparent as possible, that's true game. It doesn't look like anything. But I basically started with negative game, as I like to joke with a lot of my clients. I like to really get into this because a lot of clients come to me very awkward and almost afraid to ask questions. I'm this guru who has all the answers and I've always been great. No, I was the opposite. I'd reassure everybody, listen, I was right where you were in your seat. And I was probably worse than you, and I probably made way more mistakes and have been through way more rejections than you probably ever will in your life. Let's just start with that. And that always helps them to calm down. And it's completely accurate. I started off scared of women. I grew up in a house full of men and kind of had to step up as the oldest of three.
Okay.
So I didn't really have a mentor around me that, that would teach me how this works. So I was scared of women. And after enough years of just literally chickening out on making any kind of move, despite women giving me obvious, what I now know are, indicators of interest, I basically got really upset and was like, I got to figure this part of my life out, and went super hardcore, anything I could read online, any books. I got some coaching, which is a game changer. And then shortly after that, I started coaching myself. I started putting out ads. The point is it just started to kind of get into this whole different level. There's a whole world that opened up to me of guys that were doing it like this. And so I basically got to this point where now I coach very exclusive clients that are willing to put in the work and who qualify for certain criteria, which is why I think, we're going to make a really good team. Because I'm not taking anybody. I've already got all these other things happening, but I still really have a huge passion for coaching, as I'm sure you know, and your guys already know at this point. We've done a couple of some group things. I love it. It's 9 a.m. here it's not even 9 a.m. right now on the West Coast. I'm not that guy. Like I don't wake up. I haven't woken up to an alarm in a long time, but I set my alarm for 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and I love it. At no point am I like, I got to do this class. I'm like, I'll wake up riled up. I don't even need coffee. I go for my walk and I'm like, all right, so I want to hit this. I want to do that. I'm super into it. I don't know why. I just am. And I especially love to coach and help others, and seeing people like actually make some kind of headway and get results is like the best feeling. It's selfishly speaking, like that's what I really love, is like knowing like, oh, I changed that guy's life. Like that's the coolest. So that's
awesome, man. So you came from a background where you didn't have any mentors. You've obviously got to this place where you're not only good at what you do, you're so good to the point that you got to just kind of pull it back a little bit. Are there any specific things that happened along your journey, dating wise, going from just like a regular guy who was getting rejected all the time? Are there any turning points you can remember in your life that kind of helped you in the way you relate to women?
I think it's that one, but I'm going to give you some like full truth.
Yeah. Give me some vulnerable stuff, man.
Yeah, that's a huge part of my game, by the way, is the vulnerable stuff.
Oh, okay.
In fact, you know what? Let me lead with that. I remember when I started getting into it, I was getting some results. What a great segue, because that's like right on. That was one of the bigger shifts for me in my early 20s. I come in with this facade and this shtick. I didn't know it consciously, but that's what I would do. And it was my ego. It's a self-protection mechanism that I had. This is before I really got into meditation and kind of doing the inner work. It was all still outer work and outer game, which got me results, but I'd come into it with almost no vulnerability, therefore almost no authenticity. And so my results were scattered and nominal at best. And it was reliant mostly upon gimmicks, humor, etc., whatever I read. And it wasn't until I got some good coaching and really got to this place where I realized, okay, what if I just tried it from the inside out and was like, just put my actual self on the line, which was the hardest thing for me. And I remember doing it. I remember doing it. I walked in and it was a quiet night, and I'm not advocating hitting on the staff at a bar. In fact, I tell everybody, just don't. That probably means you don't have enough options if that's what you're doing. However, just because we're being super transparent, this is what I knew, like, oh, this is my new thing. This is what I have to do. I basically picked up one of the most beautiful women I've ever met. I mean, this girl was so gorgeous. Like, she would walk in and we'd be like on a date and I'd be confused. I'm like, why is she with me? Like, I don't understand. I still have that imposter thing. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. She is too hot. This is insane. And I think everyone probably agreed. And I just really had but she was so fun, so sweet, and really thought on another level how she was building her business, which I loved. Point is, picked her up with this super raw, whoa, like, you are stunning. And I just came at it with like no game. Like, it was kind of awkward, in fact. I was like, and her name was kind of weird, had a weird spelling, and it's like, teased her on that. But at no point was it coming from this, oh, what if I pull this lever and I try this and then she'll say that. It was just me like, oh, you're just like, you're too much. You are too hot. Like, I'm like intimidated right now. Like, I would just tell her that to her face. But because I was so relaxed, like, she could tell like I was, having fun with it. But I was being raw. And I remember even when I got her number before I left, she's kind of lit up. She wants to give me her number, I could tell, but she pulls back a little bit. This girl is super, super hot, by the way. So I don't know. I'm still confused as to how it all worked. But she could sense that it was coming from this real place. I wasn't just another guy like spitting game at her, which I'm sure what her experience has been. And I remember as she was going, to give me her number, I could tell she kind of pulled back. And I said, hey, I totally get it. Like, I'm just some random guy that walked in tonight, but worst case scenario, we can be friends. And I let out the gas a little bit, and she right away was like, okay, this guy gets it. And then still on that first date ended up like flaking. Not quite, like we didn't quite set like the actual thing and agree to it. So she like played with me afterwards. And after I realized, like super hot girls play in a different world. Like they test you a lot harder, but it's easy to pass. You just have to like, just not really care. Point is, getting into a vulnerable, authentic place is one of the hardest things I get my clients to be in, but it yields the most results. Are you going to get full-on rejections? Yep. But get through those, you're going to have insane results. Women are going to see it.
And Andrew, that's the reason why I brought you on board, because there are a lot of gimmicks out there. There's a lot of pickup artistry out there. There are a lot of tactics out there that don't allow a man to actually see his insecurities and feel his insecurities. They're all running away from them or masking them. And one of the biggest things for men who are healing from a compulsive behavior, especially when they're going to go and interact with women, is that ability to be vulnerable, that ability to take a hit emotionally and realize, okay, I'm angry. Why am I angry? Like, what's the issue that this is bringing up? And actually starting to see women as human beings. Actually starting to see them as human beings that you can open up to, you can be vulnerable with, and you can communicate with as these beautiful, amazing, interesting beings that you're curious about. And man, it's been a journey to find, and that's the way it usually goes, right? I've been looking for somebody to support the brothers in the Dating Reboot group, and literally the person to do it is literally just like not even one call away, literally. You were always like right there. Yeah. Finally, just to wrap things up, Andrew, can you just walk us briefly through how you typically work with your clients to get them results?
Yeah, I always want to meet them where they are. I have to do this simple assessment, the obvious stuff, so I know at what level I can give them information. Because if I go into what I'm actually doing, it's not going to make sense to them if they're like just starting to date again after a year or something. So I meet them where they are, and then I also tell them to give me looks, but also on the inside as well, what their standards are, what they're looking for in a partner. Even if they want multiple partners or one partner, it's mostly the same kind of script all the way up until maybe about the end. So we identify point A to point Z, and I simply reverse engineer that for them. I can get into the weeds on exactly how I do that, but all I'll say is sometimes just that exercise really helps a guy, because no one sits there and does the, oh, well, that's actually what I want. And a lot of times it kind of surprises them. Maybe it's, their parents kind of influenced them, or society influenced them to want or like a certain thing. And when I have them go deeper, oftentimes it's the women that are a little bit maybe more flavorful, a little quirkier, a little more real and raw. Guys want that. Obviously beauty is important, but the point is we start to build that curriculum custom for everybody. That's the fun part.
So good. When we had our first trial session, I brought Andrew in to answer some questions. One of the first things that happened was that he looked at one guy and he just called him out on something. And this guy had been coming in, obviously I won't share for privacy reasons, my sessions for a very long time. But Andrew was just observing me interacting with clients, and his ability to diagnose somebody's problem, a man's issue, just based on seeing him on camera and just his body language, was phenomenal. And immediately people started asking, like, man, how can we work with this guy? Like, his way of making it customized. I teach systems. Andrew customizes it to you. So for those of you who've watched, first of all, Andrew, thank you so much for your time today, showing up and letting everyone know who you are. Andrew's going to be with us in the Dating Reboot program. If you would like to learn more about the program, if you want to be a part of the program, there's going to be a link below this video or above the video. So you can schedule a call with one of our Reboot strategists and find out if you are a good fit for the program. One thing I want to make clear is with all our programs, this is not a course. This is not some random coaching program where you can show up and throw money and we're going to accept you. We're very specific about the type of men we allow into our program. In fact, we started this conversation with me just saying, bro, I can't wait to get off this call and actually fire a client. I'm happy about it, not for the client. I have a serious conversation to have with the client to support him. But the prospect of just not having drama, not having friction, and just being around people who are eager to learn. I will spend hours with a guy if he's excited and ready to learn. But if he's going to complain, if he's going to be lazy, if he's going to feel entitled because he paid money, brother, if you are that type of person, please don't bother applying to the program.
Do not sign up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone else, we would love to have you. Andrew and I are going to begin the session right now. We appreciate you.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot Group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.